live on Facebook. We're going live on Facebook now. I like to check YouTube manually. We're live on YouTube. Leave me alone. Okay. Give me back to my window.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. All right, they can see us. And let me just hit this volume. They can see us. There we go. We're live. The audio is good. All right, folks, how you doing? My name is Tim Black. Welcome to the Tim Black Show, a special edition. I have a great guest for us today. It is a comedian. You may have seen her on Netflix. She just did a comedy special. It's kind of a big deal. She's also a political commentator. You may have seen her on TYT Politics, putting it down and speaking truth to power, ladies and gentlemen. Aida Rodriguez.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you for taking time out to do this on short notice, sister. I appreciate you.
All I do is tour my house. I go from the kitchen to the living room. I got plenty of time.
You don't have to pack a bag either. You travel light, right?
No, it just keeps me out of trouble when I have something to do because I stay in the kitchen.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, you know, I do too, but eating in the kitchen, that's what I do. I eat in the kitchen.
I made a lasagna this morning.
Oh, for real?
Yes. I was like, and made some chocolate chip cookies. So I was like, I need to go sit down somewhere. I need to go work out is what I need to go to.
Man, the COVID is outside, so you got to work out. You got to run in place inside the house, right?
Oh, I got a bike in the house.
Oh.
I'm not going anywhere.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, pre Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day to you, Mom.
Appreciate that.
We're here today to discuss something, guys, that's kind of heavy. Hopefully, Aida will lighten it up a little bit because she's amazing. But we're here to talk about the murder and the updates on Ahmaud Arbery's case. Both Aida and I have been talking about it, individually. She's been talking to her audience, using her platform to get the word out. And yesterday, we kind of talked. I kind of mentioned her in a couple of posts because I noticed she's one of the few progressives that's really like putting it down on this subject. And we decided maybe we should do something together. So just to kind of bring you up to speed on where you are, I know some people have to go out into the elements. Aida and I were talking about some people have to work. Some people are essential. They're not getting paid essentially, but they're being treated essentially to put themselves in harm's way. So maybe you missed it. I like to start this broadcast by giving you the background. Here's a clip from CBS bringing us up to speed on the murder of Ahmaud Arbery.
Aggravated assault charges, while Gregory faces party to felony murder and aggravated assault. Both were denied bail. Happy birthday! Dozens of people released balloons to honor Arbery 10 weeks after the armed father-son duo chased Arbery down in their truck while he was reportedly jogging near his mother's house.
911 was the address.
In the McMichaels 911 call on February 23rd, they claimed Arbery was a burglary suspect. Cell phone video of the incident shows the McMichaels tried to block Arbery, which led to a physical confrontation with Travis, who was holding a shotgun. Arbery was shot twice and stumbled to the ground. Questions remain on if the man who shot the video, William Bryans, will face charges. Arbery's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, says she was stunned when she learned of the arrests.
As we waited over 2 months and they hadn't been arrested, and the GBI had it for 2 days, and we got an arrest. So it was a shock. It was really a shock.
Did you worry that your prayers were not going to be answered?
I'm going to be honest. At times, my faith was tested. But at the end of the day, I knew that he would come through.
Arbery's mother says she probably won't watch the video of her son's death. It's too painful. There's a 2.23-mile run today in Brunswick, Georgia. 223 is February 23rd, the day that Arbery was killed. For CBS This Morning Saturday, Omar Villafranca, Dallas.
All right, so I hope that everybody's up to speed now. Aida, what were your first thoughts when you found out about this murder? What crossed your mind, sis?
So I'm from Florida. I went to school in Tallahassee, and I lived in Georgia. My initial thought was, so I I initially always think that something was wrong with the story, right? Because I thought modern day lynching is what I thought. And I said to myself, I know that Georgia can be very segregated and is very segregated in parts. And, you know, the penalty for being a Black person in the wrong neighborhood is real. It exists. And so when I saw it, I was furious. I was furious because I'm from Florida, and this is very reminiscent of the George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin murder as well. And this is not a matter, and this is where it gets like interesting for me, because a lot of progressives and liberal people and white people that we know don't want to get too caught up in this matter because they're, they have these political ties, or they don't want to ruffle the feathers when it comes to law enforcement. But this is not law enforcement. This is white supremacy at work. And I think that people really need to understand that this was a modern day lynching, and just the way it happened to this Black man, and is more likely to happen to a Black man, what's to say that any citizen can decide that your day is up because they believe that they're standing their ground, right? And then when it comes to people of color, we're not standing our ground. We're being, threatening, and we're being dangerous. But when they are defending themselves, it's standing their ground, and in a double standard. And I'll just go on because I get so upset. But I was really pissed off when I saw this.
Yeah, absolutely. I was pissed off as well, sister. I was, before I started covering politics, I used to just cover cases like this. I cover issues with police. I'd cover anything that kind of impacts society that was in the consciousness of people just talking about it. So whether it be a terrorist action or a shooting, of course I covered all the horrific shootings from Trayvon to Tamir to Sandra, Alton Sterling. I mean, the list goes on. Laquan McDonald. So I kind of got away from it. Part of it was due to my own personal health, because you feel so disempowered and so angry all the time.
Right.
And then I started saying, well, you know what? If I want to actually help, I got to get involved in the politics stuff, because we got to change some stuff. We got to change laws. And in America, you got to change laws through politics. That's sort of like what I said, Tim, you got to start talking about these issues again, because here we go again. So when I saw this, I said, you know what? This young man, I don't know who robs anything. I didn't know anything about his background, first of all. But it just made no sense on a Sunday at 1 p.m. with a T-shirt with no truck,
Yep,
no friends with him, is somehow robbing places. It didn't make sense at all to me to begin with. What about you?
we knew that was not what it was. Even when you hear about that he shoplifted in high school, and most kids shoplifted at some point, because that's how you learn boundaries and rules. That you walk into a store when you're a kid and you take something that's not yours, and I guarantee you that for every single person that has an indictment for Ahmaud, and every other person that they seem to use these things as justifications for wrongdoings that happen to them, I would love to delve into your past and see the wrongdoings of what you've done as a human being, because we're all imperfect and we all made mistakes. But shoplifting in high school does not justify being lynched in broad daylight and for no reason. And so when I saw that, I was like, here we go again, and for us, it's like a daily occurrence now. Like, people are like, oh my God, look, it happened again. Here we go. Name, like the list of names is endless at this point. Right. So for now, I'm starting to think they're trying to send us a message, because apparently, this seems to be very abundant and it's happening so much. So when I think about this, I'm like, this is BS. This is not real. They cannot possibly. I did not believe it. I didn't believe it at all. I knew that there was something behind it. And unfortunately for us, we always have to think, what if? Because usually that's what the case is when it comes to us.
Yeah. What if? I remember seeing those T-shirts with names on them of people Black people who were shot by cops, and it'd be a whole list of names. But now the list is so long, you need like a bathrobe or
Yeah,
a trench coat, because it's too, like you just said, it's too many names. It's horrific what's happened. And earlier you said, some of our white friends, the liberals or progressives, whatever, whatever people call themselves, they don't want to get involved when it's police. But this ain't, like you said, this ain't police. This the father, what is his name, Gregory McMichaels, he used to be a cop.
But he's not a cop anymore.
He's not a cop now. He didn't have a badge at the time, and he has no reason. He's not even Zimmerman. He's even worse, because Zimmerman, he was a cop in his own mind. Like, he was a rent-a-cop. At least he thought he was. Night work, whatever he is, night watchman or whatever. This guy has absolutely nothing to do with anything other than being a bigot.
Yeah, no, he went and involved himself in the business of somebody else. And, there's a history of violence here when it comes to white supremacy in America. And a lot of people do not want to be direct about it. And so, I appreciate our friends and the people who are now calling to action when it comes to white people. But I've been saying this for a long time, because if you're not part, they love Martin Luther King. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. And if you're standing by idle watching this happen, not using your privilege, not using your platform to stand up on behalf of a people who are being assassinated in the middle of the street, then you're not an ally. And at this point, it's us against them, and that's what it's becoming. And unfortunately, these talking points can make people very uncomfortable. But the reality of it is you're not just gonna keep killing us like this, and we not gonna do nothing, and we just gonna stand by and take it. It's just not gonna continue to happen. You couldn't do it in the Middle East because there was a rise of ISIS. You can't do it, and unfortunately, that's not even a just way to handle things. And I'm not justifying terrorism or a senseless murder of innocent people, but what I'm saying is that violence begets more violence. True. And you cannot continue to just impose that violence on people and think that it's just going to keep going. And so we are calling for solutions. We're calling for real solutions.
What you said is definitely on point. We need solutions. And, I understand people don't feel good talking about this stuff. I mean, you shouldn't. You should not feel good talking about somebody being murdered. I get that. Just because you have a heart and you are a human being with empathy. Of course, but everything's not supposed to make you feel good. I don't feel good talking about climate change either. I we talk about the end of the world. I don't feel, that gives me the warm and fuzzies, but you can't ignore it, right, Ida?
No, you cannot ignore it. And specifically, I'm an Afro-Latina. I identify Black. I'm a Latin woman of African descent. And I understand my privilege within that, right? Because we're from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has a flag. We got a language. It's our colonizers' language. For the most part, it's the same thing. But a lot of people see it as different. But what I'm saying is that, we sit here and we have these conversations. Black people stood on, my grandmother came here in the 50s from Puerto Rico and walked right into the civil rights movement. And that civil rights movement created away from my grandmother, who did not speak English, a Black woman from Puerto Rico that came here. Black people stand on the front lines for gay people. They stand on the front lines for women. They stand on the front lines for all kinds, for Muslims. So it is time for everybody else to step up and step up for Black people, right? Because the truth is that, especially us Latinos, we wouldn't enjoy these freedoms that we have had it not been for that civil rights movement. And we have to be honest about that. And so it is time, even if it is an uncomfortable conversation. You know what? So is rape. So are hate crimes against gay people. Yeah. So is terrorism. But we have those conversations because we want to remedy those problems. This right here, this is a matter of humanity. And you shouldn't have to be Black to be bothered by this.
Perfectly stated. Like, I don't like talking about rape. I always feel like as a guy, I'm talking about this is like, it's uncomfortable. I mean, I haven't experienced it. I know women, like 1 out of 3, crazy numbers, like 1 out of 3 or 4 women have had some type of sexual assault. I mean, but you can't ignore it. If you call yourself progressive, you have to put yourself in the shoes of other people. That to me is a fundamental pillar of considering yourself a progressive person. So we have to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations. Just to get back to the case a little bit, so that clip we played, I didn't realize that they were charging the father with a different a different set of charges. Like, so a murder charge for the son, and also aggravated assault, and for the dad, it was like an accomplice and some other type of charge.
And now they're trying to charge the cameraman
Yeah.
because he was also complicit. And the thing is, you know what's funny is like we have to always go to that A Time to Kill moment in that movie where Matthew McConaughey is doing his closing argument for Sam Jackson, and he tells the story of what happens to the girl, and the jury is like cringing because of all of the details. And then at the end he says, now imagine that the girl was white. Right? And that is what won him the case. So we shouldn't have to get to the point where we do that, but just put yourself in this situation where a young white guy who, you know, is the potential to go play sports somewhere is running through the hood, and 3 black dudes say, this guy doesn't belong here. He looks like he could be a serial killer. He looks like Ted Bundy. And they got a history of violence. White people came to America. They did this to the natives. They did this. Just imagine if we carried because when people say that people of color are violent, we're reactionary, right? Because we are reacting to the trauma and all of the things that have happened to us as a result of white supremacy. But when you talk about the violence and the stuff that has happened as a result of what white people have done historically, where they've gone and they've raped and they've pillaged and they've stolen. And if black people and people of color said, wait a minute, based on your history and your violence, I have to protect myself. So just imagine the guy holding the camera, the guy that pulls the trigger, and the father that is the orchestra, the conductor, right? All of them would be under the jail, right? They would be, the day they went away, they got arrested. You can count on not seeing them again unless you see them behind bars. So let's just be real about that, right? And that is why we are calling for justice, because nobody wants to be bold enough to say that. But we have to be, because the reality of it is, if you ask the First Nations people, if you ask Black people, if you ask Asian people, they will tell you about their history of being victims of violence at the hands of white people, right? So we got to be real about that. And I don't hate white people. I just want white people to be real about their privilege and real about their racism, because that's the only way we're going to remedy this.
Yeah, it's just so much that I could do or you could do, talking to, trying to tell other people, what to do. I mean, it takes you being able to talk to your own group of people that relate to you easily, and you talk to them. Like, you got to tell, white people have to tell white people, hey, that's not acceptable. Yep. And the way that you think is antiquated, and you're a bigot, and you need to get your life right and get your head right. And, you have to start calling it out. I mean, we can't do it all. And I tell you, in the story, in the scenario that you laid out where things were reversed, it wouldn't have took 70 days. Now, 70. Now, look, guys, just so that you know, the Glenn County Sheriff's Department, they had this case first. Within not even 3 days of the case being turned over to the GBI, which is the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, that's when the charges were laid out. That's when they went and picked these guys up. So for 2.5 months almost, this case lay dormant. And then 2 days ago, that's when the tape came out. So the tape comes out, then the police get involved. Get what I'm saying? About the same time. I think it's the same time. I think it's 2 or 3 days. So the tape comes out, the footage comes out, and here's something interesting, Ida, that I discovered. On Tuesday, a local radio personality dropped the tape. He's the one who showed it. He released the video. He got the video from a former lawyer for the McMichaels. So that's how this all came to be. Without this footage that people keep saying, they keep saying, we don't like this footage on social media. It makes us feel bad. It's disturbing. But without that footage, we'd have nothing in this case.
You know what? It's disturbing to watch this footage, but you guys get off on watching Roots. You like watching The Help. You love trauma porn when it comes to Black people. You just don't like the trauma porn that makes you complicit and accountable for it. So when we hear people saying this makes me uncomfortable, you don't have a problem sharing a video with a Black person punching a homeless person because you think that that's wrong. You don't have a problem sharing a video of a Black person acting up or slapping the cop first and thinking that that's wrong. It's only uncomfortable because you indirectly feel some level of guilt, because a guilty mind needs no accusing. So when people say this is making me uncomfortable, you should be uncomfortable, because it's uncomfortable walking around feeling like you can't be in your own skin. And this is a modern day Emmett Till, if you will. From Emmett Till to 2020 right now, why are we still having these conversations?
Nothing's changed. I mean, and look, it's not everybody. Like, look, I know if you feel guilty about this, I don't know if you should or not. You're not in control of what an idiot does, but
Absolutely.
you should feel responsible when helping. Like, I feel
That's
responsible. You know what I'm saying? I feel responsible in helping root out homophobia. I think that I live in D.C. I live in Maryland now, but I've been raised in D.C. my whole entire life, worked in D.C. Very diverse, Ida. Like, man, if
Yeah.
you work in D.C., nation's capital, and you're not used to being around trans people or gay people or what, or Asian people or Muslims or whatever, like, you ain't gonna work long, because this is a melting pot of everyone. Government contractors, of people, it runs the gamut of who you're gonna deal with. If you can't take direction from a woman, you ain't gonna be here long, because you're going to have to work for women and men and straight men and gay men and bi men and whatever. So I guess I'm a little more fortunate than some people, because I don't come from that sheltered existence where you can think that you're better than or special, or these people are different than you, so you can treat them less than. But
Yeah.
you still have an obligation. It's
You
not me
do.
personally, but I have an obligation to inform others and to do my part. And that's all I'm trying. That's the point I want people to know. It's like, yeah, you may feel uncomfortable because you're a white person. You shouldn't feel uncomfortable that it's you personally, because it's not you. You didn't shoot Ahmaud. But if you don't get involved, as we, then there's a level of responsibility, because you are on this planet, you're in this country, you count, and your voice matters.
Yeah, and you may not be responsible, but you are complicit in supporting white supremacy and racism if you are quiet about it, because you directly benefit from the privilege of it. And so many people here in this country who benefit from the wealth that was built by the slaves that built this country, and the immigrants who continue to maintain it. And those immigrants are also Black people that come here from Africa. And because when people talk about immigration, they only try to give it a brown face, and it's only people from Central America, but people migrate here from Asia, Eastern Europe. And let's be real about all the Eastern Europeans that come here and bring crime here and human trafficking here. You never hear nobody attacking them. So all of the people who are benefiting from all of the wealth and all of the privilege that was created by all those people that were kidnapped from Africa and brought here and built this country for free under the most extreme circumstances, abuse, and cruel and unusual punishment, which is against your constitution. So you're going to tell me that you don't feel obligated in any way to speak up on behalf? So if you don't speak up on behalf, then you're cool with it happening. Because if somebody gets raped in front of you and you don't get involved, you are complicit in that rape.
Oh, man.
So it just makes me so happy to hear that, because people don't want to dirty their hands, but they don't close their hands when it's time to benefit.
You killing it, man. You're absolutely
I'm
right. Yeah, I mean, hey, hey, look, you haven't said anything that's not true. I mean, it's the reality. People don't look at it that way. They don't necessarily feel, the ramifications of what slavery, what Jim Crow meant. It meant people weren't going to have good lives. It meant you couldn't hand down property to your children. It meant all these things that impact us today. So that's real talk. I want to also point to the criminal justice system. See, I don't like a bigoted old white woman in a Walmart parking lot using the N-word. I don't like that, right? But I hate more. What's more damaging is a justice system that's unjust.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about racism, we're not just talking about somebody yelling the N-word out their window, though that's disgusting, and but let's talk about this. So in this clip I have of Shaun King, he had an opportunity to talk to Ahmaud Arbery's mom. And I want you to hear what the cops told her, Ida, about this case. Let me play that for the audience real quick.
knew in that moment that something was, that's all right. You knew in that moment that something was wrong, that not only had he been killed, but that they had bad information.
Yes, because for one thing, Mr. King, nobody burglarizes anything. Even him not being a burglar, he knew better not to rob someone at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a sunny Sunday afternoon.
Right. It was just a normal day in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
So I knew, but I didn't question it really because I got the information from, a part of the authority here in Glenn County. And I thought the information that they were giving me were true. I had no reason to question it.
And and heck, in that moment, you're mainly thinking about Ahmaud. You're not thinking about any of the details of the case.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, in that clip, I hope everybody can hear me still. In that clip, first, let me let you talk, Ida. What were your thoughts? You heard her say what the cops told her that happened. What happened?
At first, they told her that he was burglarizing a home, right? And that was why. So he unarmed, dressed in a running gear, took a run without a vehicle to go rob a house in a neighborhood that's foreign to him, or a neighborhood that he doesn't live in, right? Okay. So of course, this woman who, like you can remove race from this, any other mother on the planet, you know your children. You know who the robber is. You know who the janitor is. I have a joke about it. You know which kid you should just pull the books away and give him a broom, right? You know that kid. He's not gonna do it. Just hand him the broom and say, "This is what you're gonna be in life, son," because I know you don't like to read and you don't like to work. You know your children. You know the ones that are involved in wrongdoings, and you know the ones that are not, because you know your kids. So you're going to call this woman and tell this woman that this young man who routinely takes this run decided on that day that he was going to burglarize a home. And the only reason why they came up with that one is because there was not a white woman in sight that they could accuse him of trying to sexually assault with, because that's the history of what we deal with when it comes to that. So no, she didn't believe that, because she knows her son and he does it all the time. So they lied to her, and we're going to talk about the justice system because we have to talk about it. But that is the innate issue that most of us have when it comes to racism, because like you said, you yelling out the N-word in a parking lot and your prejudice and your bigotry does not affect my ability to buy a home, live in peace, to walk about the earth enjoying my unalienable rights, right? So now you're talking about a systemic ill that is contributing to the downfall of an entire group of people who don't deserve this, because you owe them something based on what they did for this country. So, when we talk about this stuff and you see all of the people who aren't complicit, this is why sometimes I say, don't bang on the cops so hard, because the cops are the blue collar workers that are just, they are out there executing the plan that has been set in bigger play by the people at the top who are directly benefiting for this. That's why it's so important. I advocate so much for us to get involved in local government, because you need to know who your sheriff is in your neighborhood, because these are the people making the decisions that affect stuff like this. And that is why the people in Florida got rid of the DA that was responsible for George Zimmerman. Remember that those people got voted out because the people of the community said, we got to get rid of these people, because these are the people that this guy walked because of them. And this is the kind of stuff that, I can go on forever. It just frustrates me.
Yeah. But, now you took a different tack than I thought you would. But the cop, it's just because we see so much footage of these cops that just should not be cops. Like, I know it's a stressful job. I can imagine. I had a friend back when I was in my early 20s. I had a friend that was a fireman. He was a fireman for many years, and he decided to become a cop. After 3 months, he quit, went back to being a fireman. He said being a cop sucked. It was stressful. It was the mentality of cops. He didn't like it. He said, give me back my hat. I'd rather go in a burning building than deal with people cursing at me every day and might have to shoot one of these fools. So, and that's real talk. But the thing about this tape that bothered me, first shout out to Shaun King for letting me use his footage, man. And follow Shaun King at Shaun King on Twitter and join him on Twitch as well. And I don't want him to penalize me for using his clip. But the thing that got me was, what if this would have been a mom who just listened blindly to the cops and did not pursue this? Yep. There are moms out there who may be estranged from their child. I mean, I meant to mention that yesterday was Ahmaud's 26th birthday.
Yeah, it was his birthday.
It was his birthday. I think you mentioned it, Ida. But my point is, when kids get older, sometimes parents don't know what they're into. So what if this mom didn't have such a close relationship, Ida, where she knew, hey, how her son's rolling now? Because, kids fall into bad company. They do things. They have, different people that they hang out with. What if she would have just listened? And I just start thinking, like, I wonder how many other times people have been killed by cops, or in this case, not even a cop, friends of cops, former cops. And then they make up a story, they tell the family, and the family's so ashamed or destroyed or distraught, they don't even look into it. They're like, oh man, he got caught out there, oh my God. And they're just so wrapped up into that, they never pursue it. And those killers get away with it.
And it happens all the time. And can you imagine? So, because the thing that I always think about pattern recognition, right? So when you think about people and the type of stuff that they do, so if you find with ease that you can run a young Black man down and antagonize him and accost him for being in your neighborhood, how far are you from committing other crimes? Like, how far you are from, seeing a young woman walking down the street in the middle of the night and sexually assaulting her because you feel entitled, because it is that toxicity and that entitlement that leads these people to commit the acts that they commit, right? So you have to think about this from the perspective of, what if that would have been my child? Or what if that man's son got into a fight with another white kid, and because he had a gun, he shot him? Now we all got to tolerate the behavior of this criminal-minded individual who's entitled and toxic because he has affiliation and ties with law enforcement in that particular region. And that is not acceptable. That is not acceptable. And what I said earlier was not to excuse the behaviors of the cops, is to really understand that they are also pawns in the game of upper government, right? Now the people that have that bully mentality, who should never have it, there's no psychological component to this. They send these young people out into the other people's neighborhoods to police people who don't look like them. So many issues that we can unpack here. But the reality of it is they're the fall guys, because when they behave the way that they behave, politicians don't want to deal with this. They got elections coming up. They don't want to rattle the feathers of the people who are writing them checks. So we have to really get into why all of this happens and why it is allowed to happen, because it goes far beyond a police officer that's in a uniform that's making, a minimum wage for an essential worker and is overworked and mismanaged, right? So, and not properly trained, by the way. So it's so deep. It's like The Wire was such a great television show because you got to see everything. You from DC, you saw it from the ground up. You're like, oh, this went all the way to the top, because it is all connected. It is all connected, and we cannot act like it is not. That's why Donald Trump was like, he had on the tuxedo. He looked like, he didn't have on jeans and a hoodie, so I can see why he's a good guy. Come on,
that's very deep. Like I didn't realize. Like, I heard you tell jokes. I didn't know you put it down like this. You on point. You're on point, definitely. Like you're right. There are pawns in the game. Like, someone is sending them out. So for every, Giuliani, or for every Bloomberg would stop and frisk, or any cop in NYPD, they were being directed from the mayor, or even from the governor, of how to do their law enforcement. Yes. And if they don't do it in a certain way and meet a certain quota, then they don't have a job anymore. And they had the same situations we had. They got to pay bills, they got kids, they have all the responsibilities of everyone else. And then they had this high pressure situation where they got to go in and deal with people. And let's keep it real. Everybody's not so nice when they got to go be police,
Like, and not to say there's a great number of white supremacists who have infiltrated law
Oh,
enforcement.
hell yeah.
Time, right? So
Yeah.
let's not pretend like we don't know that there are skinheads and KKK and all of those people in law enforcement. But then there's a sector of them who are just scared, right? And when people are afraid, they're not properly trained. They you send somebody who grew up in a rural white neighborhood to Compton, they don't know what to do. The only thing they're gonna do is they got to get out of there alive, because for some reason somebody told the cops a lie. They told them your job is to get home safely, and that's not your job. Your job is for me to get home safely. That's why you signed up for public service and I didn't.
Whoa. Mic drop.
No,
Mic
you know
drop.
what you hear all the time. You hear it, my job is to get home to my family. That's not your job. That is not what you signed
That's
up for.
my job.
Right.
That's Ida's job.
Yeah.
You're a public servant.
Your job is for me to get home safely. So when we start having these conversations about law enforcement and we get into this sensationalism, this romantic ideal of what law enforcement is, they're public servants. They're just like the politicians. They work for the people. And there is such a severe imbalance of this country where now the people who are supposed to be working for us have indoctrinated us into believing that we work for them, that we have all of these problems. And it is an imbalance. And if poor white people, Latinos, Muslims, Indian people, Asian people do not think that they are on the agenda as well, just wait. Just wait. You see it, that this coronavirus is the new stop and frisk in New York, right? Do you see it happening? 40 people get arrested, 35 of them Black. What does that mean? You are now weaponizing coronavirus to put Black men in jail again. Stop it.
That's the goal. That's been the goal since day one. People don't recognize it. I have a couple surprises. I ran across the audio tape from the 911 call. See, I didn't even know that McMichael's called 911. I think one is a neighbor and then the other is McMichael. So I'm going to play both clips so you can get a sense of what's going on. And this first clip, you're going to hear the person who called the police on Ahmaud. He didn't know it was Ahmaud, of course. You're going to hear just what Ahmaud was doing that made them so nervous about Ahmaud. Check this out.
Of course.
219 or 220 Priscilla Drive.
And you said someone's breaking into it right now?
No, it's all open. It's under construction. And he's running right now. There he goes right now.
Okay, what is he doing?
He's running down the street.
Okay.
Back into the
Okay, that's fine. I'll get them out there. I just need to know what he was doing wrong. Was he just on the premises and not supposed to be?
Stuff on it. And he's been caught on the camera a bunch before at night. It's kind of an ongoing thing out here. The man that's building the house has got heart issues. I think he's not going to finish it. So.
Okay, that's fine. And you said it was a male in a black t-shirt?
A white t-shirt. Black guy, white t-shirt. And he's done running back into the neighborhood.
Okay, and...
Our front yard.
And what was your name, sir? Okay, and your phone number? Okay, I'll go ahead and put it in and have somebody come out there and check it out, okay?
Thanks.
Okay. I'm going to come back and I'll do them in pieces because I think we could break this down a little bit. I don't know if you could hear that, but they were saying that what he was doing, he was running down the street. He was jogging down the street. When she asked, she said, well, what's he doing that's wrong? He said, well, we have him on camera running past his house before on his property, but the property has no fence. There's no one living in it. It's not even a finished property. It's like it's a place under construction. And
he's been down there lately.
There you go. His mother lived a block away. So he would go for a run and he would come through this part of this plot of land where no one lived. Yeah. And they have him on camera running past a place where no one lived. There's no break-ins reported in the ensuing weeks before this incident. There are no break-ins reported to the police of anyone stealing anything. And this man who called the police on Ahmaud here, because he had on a white shirt and sweatpants or shorts, he didn't say that he was actually doing anything other than he trespassed. He ran through that area and kept going. You hear him say there he is now. He's running down the street. Well, he's jogging down the street. So
you're talking about people who have experience with law enforcement, right? So this is what leads me to believe that there was an intent for some sort of force, right? Because they're trying to justify and establish something in advance, right? You call the police, there's a phone call. Now we have evidence that someone called in and said there was a threat, but they really had nothing to give because he wasn't doing anything, right? But because they think like law enforcement, they're like, we're gonna call, we gotta make sure we let them know that we felt threatened by him. There's documentation that we made a phone call before anything went down. So that when something goes down, it's the same thing George Zimmerman did, right? So it's like, there's a guy running through, stop, don't do it. They still pursue it. Why is there no penalty when they tell you not to do anything and you still do something? Because that means to me that it was premeditated, right? Because you continued on and you kept on until you got what you were looking for, and it was to put that person down. Because if not, you would just mind your own business. Because if you don't see him doing anything, you decided to take it into your own hands. And because your buddies down at the precinct always got your back, you thought you were going to get away with it. Nobody was going to find out about it. Because now you say, well, we called, we said he was around the house. We told the mom that he was trying to rob the house. So you guys just stood your ground. No.
Right.
We don't buy it.
There's nothing there to steal, folks. There is nothing to break in. There is no door. It's just a shell of a construction site. There is nothing there. No one lives there. The man even said that the person who's building the home, he doesn't even think he's going to finish building the home. Okay,
of course not.
They just don't want to see. They don't want to see this nigga through their neighborhood. Period.
That's sending a message.
That's it. No niggas in the neighborhood. I don't know who this nigga is. He don't got no business being here. That's really what it was. Okay.
It's sending a message, like especially now, all of these people that are down there, like, oh, this liberal agenda. They're all getting the gentrification is happening. They're gentrifying us as well. Now they're trying to move into our neighborhoods. They're usually on the other side of the tracks. We don't want that to happen. We're going to have to send a message. And if that is not the message that they were trying to send and we are making this up, then prove us wrong. Because I'm trying to tell you that what other message could you be sending with somebody who was running with not one tool for burglary? Right? Like and it's Alonzo Bona says it all the time. You know, black men are superhuman. According to this rhetoric is that they have the superpowers that nobody else has. So he probably was going to burglarize the house and fly away because he's a Superman. You know what I mean? And
he's going to lift the building up with his thoughts. Just
and what was he going to say?
Pick the house up, right? Some off the Avengers shit. Something
they
like
have some really nice faucets in the house. Like it's New Brunswick, Georgia. Come on now. Let's be real about what we're talking about. Let's talk about geography and economics. Stop.
I don't know. What's New Brunswick? What's in New Brunswick?
Well, New Brunswick. Well, you talk about Georgia and the areas of those places where are predominantly really white. Okay. You know, Georgia's very rural, right? You have to go to Atlanta, to the metropolis, to really get a city feel. So all of these places, you know, from Griffin to Jonesboro to Macon to Homerville, they're all very, very segregated. So there's a fear, right? Because when you see the Black people, you're like, that's not the help. Why are they over here? What's going on? It's a sundown town, right? It's one of those places, and you have to be real about that. Like we have to stop telling this ugly lie that we tell in America, that is a history and it's behind us and it's in the rear view mirror. No, it's not. It's right here, right now. And this is happening today. And just like all the other ridiculous cases that we hear about, these modern day lynchings, and we tweet about them for 2 weeks and then we forget about them. It's just part of, we're normalizing it because there's no action being taken as a result of it.
One other point I wanted to stress is that they said they've seen this young man a number of times cutting through. They've seen him come to the neighborhood, but never once did they look at him like he's a part of the neighborhood. It never even dawned on him that his mom is a homeowner in the neighborhood. They just think this guy comes by ever so often just to scout. Like they never crossed their mind like, hey, maybe he lives around here. Maybe his mom pays taxes around here. Because he's black, he's considered the other. And as you pointed out earlier, Ida, this could certainly be a Latino guy. If they saw a Latino guy come through enough, he's other enough to be considered an outsider as well. Same thing would apply to a Native American. Anybody who's not part of the dominant group can be seen as the outsider. So I'm not going to say it's not black related. It's definitely black related, but they would have treated any person who wasn't white probably the same way. But they treat us a little special because of the stereotypes that they have of black people. But I just want to point that out.
It happens in our neighborhood, and here in California, that's supposed to be a liberal town, where we got neighbors with American flags that suddenly went up that had not been there pre-Trump. We have the neighborhood app where you can see them talking about, we see this person and we saw that person. We got to check the app to make sure we're not on there because we live in the neighborhood. And, we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. And when people say, well, why do you move to these neighborhoods? Where are we supposed to go? Because in our neighborhoods, they do it. Like, it's not, well, how about fixing the problem instead of blaming us for existing wherever we choose to exist?
Right.
We're not forcing ourselves into any neighborhoods, and when you look at this right now, like what's happening in South Dakota with the governor trying to force the Lakota nations not to enforce testing while you go into their reservations because South Dakota didn't put shelter in place. It is the audacity of people who are less than per their perception to stand up for their lives and value them because they don't value it and they see you as less than. So it's all of this is that how dare you? Who do you think you are? Get back to your place. This is out of control. Now they're trying to run through the neighborhood. Now he's got a Nike watch. Look at him. He probably went to college. What is he doing through here? Why does he think he can run through our neighborhood? Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. If I'm lying, find the lie if I'm wrong. Because let me tell you something. Anybody can run past my neighborhood and I ain't never in my life thought, why are they running through here? It ain't in my sensibility.
Was he carrying a television?
Exactly.
Small child that wasn't his, like maybe I'd be concerned, then that'd be a cause for alarm. But simply jogging attire,
and you could tell he doesn't. So the other thing is, you're looking at somebody don't run, right? So he's looking at him like, running. What is he doing running through here? What is he running about? What is this run about? They
slobbery, right, slobs.
Yeah, so you can tell that's like, this attractive young man in shape, valuing himself. Apparently running was his sanctuary, just taking a stroll just like he always did. And today was the day y'all decided that's enough. We don't want him here anymore for no reason other than he's black. That's it.
That's it.
Because you didn't know him. You didn't know him. You didn't know anything about him.
And the way you get to know him is with a shotgun, blocking his progress, blocking the way for him. I have one more audio clip, Ida, that I want to play because, once again, I think it's very illuminating. Now, this audio was, I think this was Gregory. The father calls the police while he's in the truck. And this is the whole thing going down. Check this out.
Right here is Satilla Shores. There's a black male running down the street.
Where at Satilla Shores?
I don't know what street we're on. Stop right there! Is it? Stop! Travis!
Sir, hello, sir. Sir, where you at? Hello?
All right, guys, that was really short. That's really short because that's when the gunshots went off, and you could hear Dad yelling, "Travis!" Travis is the one with the shotgun who actually shot and killed Ahmaud. So he's saying, "Travis, no, what are you doing, Travis?" Trying to stop his son. This is going to me. This is open and shut.
Yep.
That we had this audio of even the dad. Remember, Dad stayed in the truck bed. He wasn't in the altercation. That was Travis's son who was blocking Ahmaud from getting past, and that's when the struggle for the gun kind of took place with Ahmaud trying to fight for his life.
Yeah, I listen. This is vigilanteism. This is not stand your ground, because Ahmaud was not posing a direct threat to these people. Ahmaud was minding his business. He was not on their property. He was not in any way posing a threat to their persons. They took it upon themselves to pursue Ahmaud and to police Ahmaud, right, in the name of a citizen's arrest. And that is vigilanteism, because they had no reason to arrest him because he was not committing a crime. So when we hear this audio, we hear this story, we know what's going on. It's Travis and his toxicity made a decision that he was going to challenge Ahmaud, right? And Ahmaud has the right as an American citizen, right, per the Constitution of the United States and all laws, Georgia and federal, to defend himself as a human being when someone poses a threat, especially if they are bearing arms. So what if that scuffle would have went the other way and Travis would have got shot? Right. Ahmaud would have been in jail since February.
You know he would have. Absolutely he would have.
Of course. Come on now. Come on.
Double standard.
Prove me wrong.
We got too many cases in history that we could point to where there's a struggle for a gun and someone, yes, we know how that kind of turns out. And not to mention, Dad is there also with a gun. And also, I meant to mention the person who actually took the footage, his name is Brady?
Yeah, the other dummy.
Yeah, the other dummy. This guy, William Bryans, he's not a good guy. He's with the bad guys. He's with the McMichaels. He's a neighbor of the McMichaels. And he himself is also going to be brought up on charges as well.
He's complicit. He videotaped it. And like all the memes are saying, they didn't go to jail. They didn't arrest these people because they saw the tapes. They went to jail because we saw the tapes, because America has been outraged, right? This dummy videotaped it because this was a trophy, a kill, right? This was a lynching. Let there be no mistake about what this was. And we need to stop and we need to properly frame our words, because what we do is when we mince our words, a lot of things go unchecked. This was a murder. They videotaped this murder, and they did not think that this murder was going to go, videotape was going to get out. They didn't think it was going to get out to the masses, right? So that is why that dummy is sitting there holding the camera, unbeknownst to him, that it fell upon the hands of somebody with a conscience and said, you know what? This is not okay.
Yeah.
This is okay.
You know, when I hear Charlamagne, and I know you was on the Breakfast Club, and great segment you did there. I know Charlamagne talks a lot about these rappers who snitch on themselves all the time with footage of filming everything they do. Where you got some old white dudes, some bigoted white dudes, hillbillies, who did the same thing. They snitched on themselves because I tell you, I just believe, Ida, without this film, these guys walk. They walk all day. Now, I'm still not convinced that they won't walk now. That's what's bad about it, is that we got such a warped criminal justice system that even with the footage, I don't know if so they need to get this trial relocated to, like you pointed out, to a place where they can have a jury of peers, not for these guys, but for Ahmaud.
No, and you know what? And the people who are peers of the people who committed this violent, egregious act of that lacks humanity. Think about those people, and do you really want to be affiliated with people of this caliber? Like these are people who are, the lowest of the lowest. To make a decision to end somebody's life because they are a Black young man running through your neighborhood. Put yourself in the place of the mother that tomorrow on Mother's Day, yesterday, the birthday of her son, is grieving and in mourning while you sitting up with your son. Travis is alive, right? Travis will be able to say Happy Mother's Day to his mother. And we just lack the humanity, and the dehumanization of Black and brown bodies in this country is part of its history. And until we address that and fix that, these things will go unchecked and will continue to happen. Because if you look at people as still being 3/5 of a human being, there's no way you're going to care when they get slaughtered in the middle of the street in broad daylight. And until we start addressing the realities of how racist, how this is embedded in the DNA of the country, that they teach white people to be racist and they teach people of color to hate themselves, we are going to continue to deal with this problem. And until we get to the point where we start talking about what's real, we're not going to find a solution. And I'm going to say, like I say to people of color all the time, since we can't mass exodus, our dollars can. And we need to really teach financial literacy to our people. And we need to go out and teach Black and brown solidarity. We need to address the issues within our communities, the anti-Blackness and Latino communities and Asian communities. We need to teach the anti-immigrant sentiment in Black communities. And we need to teach people what to do with their dollars. We don't have as many dollars as they do, so it's harder to boycott. But if we really properly educate our people, we can be more violent than them with our dollars. Because when you shut it down, when you take the money and you make a difference, you saw them do it to Wells Fargo.
Right.
When you take them dollars and you make a difference, that's far more violent than setting anything on fire. That's when they start to listen. And we have to start teaching our own how to properly impact the system in the most violent way, and that is through money.
Well, I want to make some things very clear, because Ida just said we have to be very clear and very blunt with what we say so people don't get any type of misconceptions. First of all, there's a GoFundMe to help this family. I'm going to put that in the description box below. Previously, when I covered the story, I put it there. I'm going to put it there again so you can go donate to this family. Number 2, as Ida said, this was a lynching. What else they got to do? Put a sign up and say, hey, guys, we about to lynch this guy. This was a lynching. This is what lynching looks like, okay? Number 3, they need to go to jail forever, okay? They all deserve life. That's what they deserve. Ahmaud, his mom, our thoughts go out to his mom. His mom does not deserve this. It's Mother's Day. As Ida expressed, we're so sorry for your loss. We're going to keep fighting. We need to all fight for this mom, but not just this mom, all the moms who witnessed their sons, their Black sons and daughters, killed, murdered, like this, lynched in this country and did not get justice. So,
we're still fighting for Trayvon's mama. Mike Brown's mama. We still fighting for Sandra Bland's mother. Tamir's mother. So absolutely, we got to continue the fight.
Ida, where can people go to find out more about you, to follow you? I know everybody just fell in love with Ida who didn't know her. Most of you already know her, but now you know you need to follow her for comedy and for politics commentary. Where would they go, Ida?
So on Instagram and Twitter, it's at funny AIDA, Ida. That's my grandmother's name. And then on Facebook, Ida.Rodriguez. Fridays at noon, you're going to be on it. I do Truth Serum, the weekly wrap up. We start this Friday where we talk about politics and social issues from a progressive standpoint, but where inclusivity and diversity is our standard, not an initiative. So you're going to see your favorite progressives who are people of color that have points of views about these issues. And this week I will be back on the Breakfast Club. I'm not sure which day, but we will be talking about Ahmaud, and I will continue to talk about Black and brown solidarity, because I believe that at some point when we find our dollars and we put them together, we can build our own table. We don't have to flip their table over.
Well, thank you once again, Ida, for taking time out on a Saturday. You are special. You are a powerful voice. And I love the fact that you are bridging the gap between Black folks, Latino folks, and you're really speaking truth to power, man, about we're all sharing this. We need to dig in and look at what's going on in this country. You're doing it better than anybody else I've seen out here, and I've been paying attention.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I'm a reflection of you. So I thank you for that. And thank you for going as hard as you do and calling people to action, because it's very easy to just complain, but it's more important to say, what are we going to do?
That's it. All right, guys, that's it. I'm Tim Black. Follow me at Real Tim Black on Facebook and Twitter. Tim Black at Night on Instagram. Check me out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
That's it.